All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 9:01, Tuesday, September 23, 2025, and we'll resume this session of West Hants Regional Municipality Council after our break. We are at agenda item 9, presentations. We have the RCMP 5-year multi-year financial plan. All right, gentlemen, you're up. We appreciate your patience. Don't shoot us.
So just for the record, my name is Tim Doyle. I'm the Operations NCO Sergeant up at West Hants Detachment. And with me, I have Staff Sergeant Ed Nugent, who's second day on the job. So go, Ned. Just kidding.
And last.
Yeah. So I've got Kyla Dow on through team, and I think I've got Megan Stewart. Is she with us?
It's Lauren Strecco here from
Okay.
Operations Strategy Branch.
So they'll be able to get into some of the, if there's any detailed stuff there that I can't provide, because they're helping guide me through a lot of this. So you guys got provided the copy of the multi-year plan, I believe on the 19th. I'll go over it quickly, and if there's any questions that come up, so I won't get into the weeds too much, given the evening that you guys have had already. So West Hants is with the municipal police agreement, the RCMPs are providing annually a multi-year financial plan outlining the costs for the policing service in West Hants. So based on consultation with municipal staff, a 5-year plan has been prepared, and of which are in this presentation. You'll see we have 22 established officer positions in West Hants. 3 additional positions are paid for by the province under the additional officer program. You'll probably see the AOP in some of them as an acronym at times. So I wonder what that is. Big one that is big cost is obviously HR. So vacant positions and members on special leave over 30 days sick leave or parental leave or suspension or whatnot are not billable by the municipality. So in 2023-24 and 24-25, it was less than 22. All numbers going ahead on this one are based on that. So that's what you will see is the big jump in the numbers. So going forward, we're operating as if it's full 22 positions being paid for, even though historically we've been averaging 18 point something for the last stretch. The estimates and the increases, so our salary increases or whatnot, they're just guessing at 3.5% per year. And our collective bargaining agreement expired this past March. So there's no information on that one. We do have information on where it is with the CBA. We've got no information on that, especially with the freeze that's going on, a lot of the government spending and the reductions. Yeah, sorry. Any questions on that first one? So there's any slides up and around, but on the page 3, I guess would be with you guys. Any questions on that so far?
Councillor Ivey.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Through you to Staff Sergeant Doyle. 18 to the 22, what was the reason for just automatically? Is it not taking into account the underutilization or
Yeah, so going forward, we can't say in the future how many people are again going to be showing up, I guess, for the lack of a better way of putting it. So you have to account for the full budget on HR. But we've been running at about 18.7 or so for this past year on that due to transfers, so vacancies, long-term sickness, stuff like that.
22 was the budget, but
we've always budgeted, Councillor Ivey, we've always budgeted 22, and then
they adjust at the end of the year.
We adjust at the end of the year.
There ends up being a surplus on the
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I missed that there was an explanation. Is all. It appeared
absolutely.
that we were changing the number.
Yeah, through the budget,
Yeah.
budget cycle, you'll know Dr. Rashawn, she'll say, or at the end of the year where she gives the update to council, she will. Yeah.
Thank you.
So on to the accommodation, operating and maintenance. Oops, sorry. I
Councillor
apologize.
Yep.
My apologies. Through you, Mayor. So the incremental increase that we see, you're saying that's like cost of living that we see like from year 2024 to 2025, and then as it goes up, the incremental increase in the salary?
It's forecasting, from my understanding, the estimated salary increase. So giving, as with collective bargaining, so we don't know what they're going to be.
So
So
You're projecting.
projecting an estimate on that.
All right, let's continue.
Getting to accommodations, ops and maintenance. Again, if there's any questions on that, that's just kind of going over our contracted services, building repairs, utilities, et cetera. So I didn't know if there's anything there that jumps out at you, but again, the building is being rented back at 100% cost to the municipality on this one. And I use the 2024-25 example on that spike that you see there for building repairs under CI 310. So that had to do with our cell upgrades and cabinetry and whatnot. So that was something that had popped up and it bumped up that one for that fiscal.
No lights.
No lights.
That's
Moving
not-
on. So for page 5, so policing service agreements. On this one here, we talked in the past on certain things. So 2023, we dealt with firearms, ammo, weapons, upgrading. We've also had tasers. So with the new tasering, there's a subscription associated to that. We're looking at extended range impact weapons, investigational aids, so breaching or ballistic shields and our watch cars, so our in-car videos. With a lot of it, they're spacing out the costing of it, so that it eases the financial burden. So for example, they probably heard in the media that they're upgrading our firearms. So we've been well past our shelf life for our sidearm for quite a period of time, and it's gone back and forth. So that's getting into tenure in the new year. So they will space out the costing on that, but that'll be something that gets absorbed over on upgrading the sidearm on that. And same thing with like ballistic shields, we try to space out some of the stuff so it's not a financial hit all at one shot. So again, for one example, it'd be down the road, it'd be for extended range impact weapons or a less lethal. The design is to have for one per car going forward. And this is across the board, not just for our detachment. So, but they try to space out those costings as they go. Is there any questions on some of these in the forecasting?
Councillor Larry Finch.
Thank you. I will be quick. Investigational aids goes from like actuals in 2023 to 3,500, and then it jumps to 31,000, and then up to 38 and back down to 17 and then down to 8. Why does it kind of go in a hill?
So investigative age. So we've had for 2024-25. Again, tasers was a big one.
Okay, those are sorry, I don't know what's included in invest.
So they actually I might be able to correct me on that. Maybe I'll put that.
Includes information management and IT.
Oh yes, so we've had
Yeah, live scan.
live scan came in. So we evergreened our live scan, our fingerprinting machine. So that was one actually we have it on the ground now. It's installed. So yep, my bad on that one. The ballistic shields will end up falling underneath that. The information management technology and our watch guard. So the in-car cameras is a substantial one. So it's a
Okay,
better resolution, and it's an evergreen technology on that. So that's why you have that spike in that one. But live scan is actually up and running at our office now.
thank you.
So,
All right, let's continue on.
six of this would be. Yeah, I think it's your page 6. Yeah. So I don't know if there's any questions you have on this one here. This gives a breakdown into division specific costs, region specific costs. It's into the div administration. So just how it's shared costs across the board and how it's factored in and calculated nationally. So again, body worn camera comes into one of those as well. Stuff like that. So it spreads out like air services. I think we've talked about in the past on having stuff like that in the admin side and retainer on it. Is there any questions on that aspect?
No lights are popping up.
On to page 7. Okay, so with these, I don't know if anything jumps out on this. So this is covering off. Most expenses are billable at 90%, exception of accommodations, guard matrons and some support staff, which are billable at 100%. So total cost projection for the municipality for 26-27 is projected at 6,115,736, with the government of Canada paying 613,461. So that's the projected costing at this point for the 26-27.
Any questions, council? So that'll be a number you'll see come spring budget session. Councillor Ivy.
Yeah, just the question is to, so on the number that you just spoke to in 26-27, the 613, it's not already imputed in the 6,000,001. It's 613 from the federal government plus our 6,000,001
Absolutely.
for a total of 6,700. Am I, you've got two numbers there. Is one?
Yeah. You're asking if the 613,000 is out of the
If it's out of the 6,000,001 or if it's
It's
plus the-
additional.
addition.
It's additional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, on the bottom line under that, yeah.
All right. No lights.
So with the next slide, page 8, again, the biggest consideration is the HR, so the salary costs. So speaking 100% terms, not considering the 90-10 cost share splits, 55.55 total projected costs are attributed to officer pay and compensation, which has always been the largest part of that pie. 17.86 is div admin, 16.31 are other costs, including public service employees, salaries and benefits. And the remaining 5.08, 5.19 are for equipment and accommodations. So again, the biggest chunk of that pie is the forecasting is the 22 positions.
All right. Let's carry on, gentlemen.
So projected costs on that graph, as you see, just as everything goes, everything's getting more and more expensive. So they're trying to forecast with the increases year to year. Total projected costing, excluding 10% paid for by the GOC, is for the current and following fiscal years, 5 fiscal years. So a large driver for some of these, and I had this conversation this morning, you'll see some bumps is replacement of vehicles, inflation, and equipment modernization. So those are our big ones when it comes to those. So we've done well at spacing out our evergreening of our fleet now, so it's not as big a hits at one time. We're trying to stay on top of that as best we can.
Nope. Perfect. Councillor Larry Pinch.
One quick. Thank you, through you, Mayor. It's probably going to sound silly, but I have to ask. So we've been operating with like 18.3 officers for the past couple of years. Is there a reason why the number is 22 if we've been able to manage with 18? I'm just curious because from a financial perspective, that's 4 officers and over the cost of those years, approximately $800,000. So
Sure.
You go ahead.
I'll keep that one real straightforward, because I think it's safe to say we'll always have a vacancy rate. So if you drop to 18 positions, we'd then be operating with 15 roughly. You know what I mean? Just to keep it simple, we're always going to have a couple of people off. Someone, members will be having babies. Sometimes people will be sick, things like that. So if you drop to a complement of 18, you're probably still going to have 2 or 3 off, and then you'd be forced to do it with 15 sort of thing. That's kind of oversimplified.
I know we've had these discussions way in the past as well, and that kind of evened out. So because we were at points we'd say, well, we should cut back on the costs, we cut back on the officers, but then you got to take in that an X factor that you cut back to 17, then you only have 14 really. But and if 18 is not enough, then really we should have 26 and end up with around 22 after. But
Yeah.
different discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
It comes up a lot.
Yeah, a lot of wear and tear. To give you an idea, just on wear and tear, when I have full gear on, I'm an extra 48 pounds. So that's all the extra gear I'm weighing, and I'm not exactly svelte to start with. So that's a lot of wear and tear on the body, and you get, injuries running through the woods and whatnot, and that can put members out for periods of time.
Geez, some of us don't even weigh 48 pounds. Shoot.
So I just got a comment. When you're at 22 police officers, it's hard to go backwards because you have to get all these legal things. It's easy to go up, but when you go up, you usually don't come back down very quickly as far as amount of officers, correct? It's not as easy as what you think.
Going down, I've never seen it because just population file load, because every time it's trending up. And then I also put forward though that a certain amount of officers you're reactive, with another amount of officers you're reactive and proactive. So then you're getting the proactive side of things rather than you're just reacting to everything else. So that's kind of the trade-off on that when you have a certain amount. I've never seen it trend down typically.
Would you mind if I jump in really quick? There's a tool, I suspect that some of you may be familiar with it as well. I don't know when the last time it would have been used here would be, but I imagine it was at some point. We use a tool called the General Duty Police Resource Model to determine, it's a very comprehensive study done by analysts with the RCMP on call volume, population, everything like that, to basically determine what complement would work best, or what we think the complement should be of police officers for your area. I know that they do them across the province. They sort of try to space them out so that communities that are changing the most kind of get them as needed, but it's something that can be done, and I suspect one probably has been done here in the past, but it's a tool that can be looked at going forward as needed, sort of thing, to determine whether or not you have the correct complement of police officers here, whether it needs to go up or down. But correct in most cases, unless population is shrinking significantly, you don't tend to go down. It tends to go up.
All right, perfect. We do have a recommendation up there, Vanessa, or if you can, are you controlling it or? Oh, Deanna, sorry, Deanna. Lingering in the background there. The Halloween theme. We do have that up on the screen, council. If somebody wishes to make it, and we can have discussion debate. Councillor Whedon.
That council approves in principle the RCMP multi-year financial plan for 2025-2031.
Moved by Councillor Whedon.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Discussion. All right, so the motion that we're voting on, council approves in principle the RCMP multiple year financial plan for 2025 to 2031. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Thank you very much. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate the patience again. Kyla, Lauren at home, I know you were just in the background there. We really thank the patience as well, and everything you guys do, staff sergeants. Great appreciation. You're welcome to continue joining us, or you can have the rest of your night.
Thanks very much,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so
you.
much. Thanks, folks. All right, barrier-free small business accessibility grant policy recommendation report. I think Director Keogh is going to take this one now, council.
Thank you. Before you before you is a recommendation for the barrier-free small business accessibility grant policy. In April 2025, council updated the grants and contributions policy. And at that time, council was made aware of an additional funding stream that could be created to support the equity, anti-racism, and accessibility strategic plan, strategic action number 5, as outlined in this report. Staff are proposing a separate policy as opposed to an amendment to the existing grant policy to clearly delineate between small business program and the one for volunteer organizations. Staff met with the chair of the accessibility committee in the development of the grant policy, and additionally see members of the accessibility committee being included in the annual grant review process for these grants. And this funding stream will include support for accessible entryways. So basically, the idea was to get people in the door to the small business is the first step that we wanted to take with this policy. And businesses will make applications under the program with council having a final decision. by way of the recommendation report that comes with the annual grants recommendation. So before you is consideration for the adoption of the barrier-free small business accessibility grant policy, RCOFN-015.
Thank you very much, Director Keogh. Questions on report to Director Keogh, Council? Councilor Larry Pinch.
Just a quick question through you, Mayor. I see the 254,000 when I read through the report, and I know the report. Is that coming out of reserves is what you're suggesting? Is that it's on top of our current?
No, that's the operating, that's the budget amount for grants that we currently have. So this would be
Okay, included in it. Thank you.
That'd be a massive grant amount. We'd be the heroes of the province on that one. Any other questions to Director Keogh? Saying nothing, we do have a recommendation up on the screen, Council. If somebody wishes to make that, we can have debate or comments. Councilor Pinch.
The recommendation says committee of the whole. Okay, that council recommend the adoption of the barrier-free small business accessibility grant policy, RCOFN-015.00.
Moved by Councilor Leary Pinch,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Whedon. Discussion. All right, council will be voting on council adopt the barrier-free small business accessibility grant policy, RCOFN-015.00. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed, motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, trail grading and finishing, West End Regional Municipality CD07 recommendation report, Manager Bennett.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. On behalf of the Community Development Department, we are asking that Council approve the award of tender WHRM CD 25-07 RFP to Axman Construction for the grading and the graveling of the rail line in the amount of $149,760 plus applicable taxes to be funded through the Canadian Community Building Fund, and also approve a contingency in the amount of $7,500 plus applicable taxes for the project to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund.
All right, any questions to Manager Bennett? Councilor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through you to Manager Bennett. Just one question within the report. We're doing this to make it so it's multi-use, and multi-use for different people means different things. So what's the expanded use that we'd be talking about here? Is it snowmobile and walking or can you speak to that at all, Kevin?
The expanded use by putting the gravels down?
Yeah.
It would be multi-equestrian, walking, cycling, because right now it's got the repairs that we did had 2 and 3 inch stone rock all over the rail line, and it's, it's punctured even our work truck tires, and it's, it'd be hard for somebody to push a stroller along the trail in the current state. So the gravel actually makes it, accessible and multi-use for, again, equestrian, walking, cycling, ATVs, anything.
Right. So it's open basically for any use is perhaps, am I?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Larry Pinch.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Manager Bennett. Out of curiosity, are those larger stones going to be removed and repurposed, or you're going to lay the gravel on top? I guess I'm just curious as to why, if they're so inefficient for the recordable use, which is the intention, why did we use that grade of gravel?
Because it was part of the broader repair of the rail line system. There were so many sinkholes and culverts that were replaced along the rail line. I think probably 30 culverts, that the larger rock is used for compaction, drainage, and everything else. So it's like a subgrade, which it always was part of the plan to rebuild the washouts and the culverts. And you do that with that rock, and then which is your subgrade, and then you come over top of it.
Okay, so
It won't be removed. It will be graded out and leveled out and then capped.
Councilor Remy.
Through you, Mayor, just one question, and I'm not sure that you can answer it because obviously you have to wait for council to do this. But if this passes tonight, how quickly would they be doing the work, or would the work be done?
I think Axman are waiting on this meeting tonight, and I think the expectation is that it would be done hopefully By the end of October, if not early November, because it is right now, it's perfect for them to get out there. It's dry and it's a good time. So they're anxious to get this work done. So we would expect this to be completed. Second week of November would be my worst case scenario.
Amazing, because I know, I mean, and just to add this comment, but that trail is used so often. I mean, we have to drive through. I mean, I live right there, but it's amazing. They're there at 6 o'clock in the morning, right till late at night. So it's amazing that'd be awesome. Yep.
Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Hi, thanks. Through you, Mayor. I have a question about the purchase pricing that's up here on the chart. Nova Peak Contracting actually had the lower price, but when you added the taxes, for some reason, it was much higher than the higher priced Axman that came out with a lower price total value.
The charts represent two different things. The first chart on the top was the original tender specs. So what you see on the top, Nova Peak 179.5, that was the original tender specs. We revised the specs on the tender, which put
The second one down.
Axman at 149.76 and Nova Peak at 206.7.
Thanks.
Any more questions for Manager Bennett? Seeing no lights, we do have a recommendation up on the screen. Council, if somebody wishes to make it, we can have questions and debate. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor.
The council approves the award of tender WHRMCD 25-07 RFP to Axman Construction for the grading gravel on the rail line trail in the amount of $149,760 plus applicable taxes to be funded through the Canadian Community Building Fund.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Discussion. All right, so we are voting on that council approving the award of tender WHRMCD 2507 RFP to Axman Construction for the grading gravel rail line in the amount of $149,760 plus applicable taxes to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion's passed. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
Approves a contingency amount of $7,500 plus applicable taxes for the project to be funded through the Canadian Community Building Fund.
Moved
Second.
by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Leary Pinch. Discussion. All right, we will be voting on council approves a contingency amount of $7,500 plus applicable taxes for the project to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion's passed unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, next up, Windsor, TMP expansion, Manager McCarthy. I can't read my own writing now.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I am here to present the Windsor Water Treatment Plant expansion for the grid application. So a little bit of the background. The province of Nova Scotia recently issued an invitation for applications under the Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program. The program provides funding for up to 50% of eligible project costs, and the application deadline is October 9th. The program supports investment in priority municipal infrastructure projects that address critical capacity issues, build more accessible and adaptable communities, and enable the preservation and expansion of services to support housing. The province requires application submissions to include a resolution of council supporting the submission of the project for funding under consideration under grid. I'll dive into a little bit more of the information. Eligible projects under grid are within 3 categories, which would be accessibility, climate change adaptation, and water, wastewater, and stormwater. This project would fall under the water, wastewater, and stormwater categories, specifically the water intake, treatment, pumping, and storage facilities. The GRID program provides an excellent opportunity to obtain funding for the Windsor Water Treatment Plant Expansion Project, which was recently awarded by council. In discussions with the GRID program administrators, the Windsor Water Treatment Plant Expansion Project was deemed to best fit the program objectives. This project is required in order to increase capacity, meet regulatory filter redundancy, increase resiliency of the water utility. It is also in support of population growth and provides water service to numerous development opportunities that are underway in WHRM. This is estimated to be around 2,000. This project aims to resolve critical capacity issues and enable the expansion of services to support housing in WHRM in conjunction with numerous other utility capital projects currently in progress in design or identified in our capital plan. This project meets the application targets, is shovel-ready, and has funding sources that have already been secured, which are contingencies of the GRID funding is what they're looking for the projects. Under the GRID program, any capital expenditures made from August 12th, 2025, when the program was launched, are deemed to be eligible, even if the tender was awarded prior to this date. All the expenditures for the construction phase of the Windsor Water Treatment Plant expansion, therefore, will be eligible under the program. For some of the next steps, so upon approval of this funding application by the province, we are to sign the funding agreement with the province, complete project monitoring reports for the province during construction, complete project closeout documentation for the province following substantial completion of construction. And for the financial implications, if successful in obtaining 50% funding, municipal funding will be reduced from 5.3 million to 2.65 million plus applicable taxes for construction under this project. We recommend that council approve the Windsor Water Treatment Plant Expansion Project for submittal under the Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. Questions, council? Nothing? All right, we do have we'll put it up on the board there. Vanessa, there is the recommendation. There we go. Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Is recommended that council approve the Windsor WTP expansion project for submittal under the Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development GRID program.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie Smith,
Second.
seconded by Councillor Leary Pinch. Discussion. Nothing. All right, we are voting on the Windsor Water Treatment Plant Expansion Project for a submittal under the Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development GRID program. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion's passed. Thank you very much. It's a great program. If we were to debt finance that amount that we're saving, it's a substantial savings on the budget. So that's a good one there, council. Next item up, development agreement, PID 45053220 King Street. Planner Hung. You hung in there. I've always wanted to say that, Will. So.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So the application before council tonight is a development application for PID 450-53220 on King Street in the Windsor planning area. And this application came in a little while ago, on April 3rd this year, from Upland Planning and Design Studio on behalf of Pinnacle Construction Limited. And the request was a 72-unit apartment building by development agreement. So the location of this lot is on King Street and it is owned by the province. The developer initially submit their proposal through the provincial land for housing program, which I will explain more in detail on my later slide. And just a bit of site context, and here's the ortho photo for the lot. I will note that this ortho photo is a bit of outdated. So as you can see, there are previous structures on the property, but the actual property is currently sitting vacant and with approximately 1.67 acre in size fronting the King Street. And the surrounding properties include a mixed form of housing like single unit dwellings. There's also an existing apartment buildings across the street, as well as institutional use for the Dykeland Lodge long-term care facility in the back, in the rear of the property. And this slide presents the generalized future land use map from the Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy. It shows that the subject property along with most surrounding property is designated as residential. And this image shows the current zoning map for the lot, which indicates it's zoned general commercial, and it allows a variety of commercial uses, including art studio, banks, and financial institution, and so forth. And here are some pictures taken in June during the site visit. This picture shows the subject lot from King Street, and you can find the existing driveway on the right-hand side, and you can also see the land slopes upward toward the rear of the property. And here's another picture shows the rear of the property. And just some more pictures of the surrounding neighborhood. So before I dive into the detailed proposal, I think it's really important for me to explain this provincial program to the council first. So the Nova Scotia Land for Housing program was launched in 2022. And basically what this means is the provincial government will provide surplus land that could be used to build housing to potential developer and sell them at a discounted price in exchange of including certain percentage of units being offered as affordable housing. So in this case, private developer like Pinnacle Construction submit their proposal and the province review their project. If the province feels that it aligns with their intention for the program, they will give them the preliminary approval. And as of 2024, there were 12 proposals have been approved across the province and unlocking to create approximately 550 affordable housing units. And I will also note that this is the first application that we received under this provincial program. So the proposal again is an apartment building with 72 dwelling units. The building is 4-story above grade with 1 additional basement level. There will be surface parking with 72 spaces, and there will be landscaping along the property lines. And the driveway entrance will be through the King Street as shown by the blue arrows. And the proposal also includes outdoor recreational space located at both front and the rear of the property. So the developer is hoping to enter into a development agreement, and it is a legal contract between the municipality and a property owner to permit a use that is not usually permitted in the underlying zone. And the requests for development agreement are measured against the policy of our municipal planning strategy. So looking at the enabled policies in the MPS, specifically part 4.18 of the MPS contains council's general intention for housing development in Windsor planning area with an emphasis on encouraging affordable housing as per policy 4.18.1, and policy 5.4.6 provides council with the ability to consider multiple residential dwellings of 3 units or above in the residential designation by development agreement, subject to specific criteria outlined in my staff report. And last but not the least is policy 16.3.1, which is the general criteria in measuring any development application. And so overall, staff have reviewed all the proposal in relation to the applicable policy and are of opinion that the proposal is in keeping with the intent of Windsor Municipal Planning Strategy. And looking at the draft development agreement in detail, section 2.1 lists the permitted use for the subject property, which includes the permitted uses in the underlying zone and an apartment building consisting of a maximum of 72 dwelling units and surface parking for these uses within the development. And here are a list of requirements in the draft development agreement. So again, the recreational space will be required as per the land use bylaw, and a stormwater management plan will also be required before any permits being issued. Same with design plan for water and sewer service in connection to meet the municipal specification. And there will also be one parking space per dwelling unit and private snow plowing during the winter. And in addition, the development agreement also requires all undeveloped area be landscaped, and the developer will also be required to retain as many trees as feasible when grading or building the development, and any trees that are not feasible to retain shall be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio of the same species and planted on the property. And the developer also had the option to provide a low impact development feature in exchange for less tree replacement number. And here is a list of substantive matters in the draft agreement, which includes the uses permitted on the property, the maximum number of dwelling units, the maximum building height, the requirements for a stormwater management plan to be submitted prior to the building development permit being issued, and the requirements for the number of tree replacement. And in terms of the public engagement, a public information meeting was held on June 4th this year, and the meeting was broadcast live on the municipal YouTube page. There were 13 members of the public attended in person, and 4 members joined online. And the deadline for comments was June 18th. Staff received 7 written comments through email and 1 phone call, and all of the correspondence are attached in my staff report as well. So staff have summarized general public feedback regarding this proposal, and my staff report speaks this in more detail, and all correspondence received during the comments period basically included traffic concern like congestion, noise, and pollution concerns, compatibility with surrounding properties, and privacy concern for nearby residents, and loss of existing natural green space, build form, density, and concerns for height and relaxed setbacks. Also, infrastructure and service capacity concerns, specifically the storm water management and sewage capacity. And staff presented this application to the PAC on September 11, and some of their feedback were around the adequacy of accessible parking spaces and the compliance with accessibility regulation. And there were also clarification on tree replacement requirements, including the number, location, and the potential use of low impact design feature. And there were also concerns regarding the height of the proposed building. So following the PAC meeting on September 11th, staff reviewed the accessible parking requirements. So we do find that the current land use bylaw don't align with the standards established in the Nova Scotia Building Code, where the building code would require more accessible parking space for this type of development. So to address this, staff raised this issue with developer, and they have confirmed and agreed to add 3 additional accessible parking space. So this will bring the total to 4 accessible parking space and ensuring compliance with the provincial standard. So looking at the process, we are at the first reading for council's review and the recommendation. Move next, we anticipate to schedule a public hearing and second reading in the next council meeting in October. And if the application was approved by council, the notice of approval will be placed in paper, which will outline a 14-day appeal period to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board. So this concludes my presentation, and I have my staff recommendation on the screen. With that, thank you for your attention, and I can take any question from this council.
Thank you so much, Planner Hong. Questions to Planner Council? Councillor Whedon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and through you to Planner Hong. Thank you very much for the report. And I've been following along this file since we met that day at the site visit. And I was just wondering, do we have an actual conceptual shot of what they're going to build here? I see the flat sot there, but do we have an actual, like a 3D kind of conceptual? Did I just miss it?
For you, Chair, to council, yes, we do have some like conceptual designs provided by the applicant. I can definitely share in my next public hearing presentation, and I believe they will the applicant will also present during the public hearing, where they will also have the opportunity to present their design concept in front of council for sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Leary Pinch.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Planner Hong. I know we saw the feedback that residents had given. Could you tell me like approximately how many people that feedback came from? Like, were there a lot of residents who responded, or was it a couple of residents who had concerns? Like, just to.
So I believe I received 7 written comments through that sending through my email.
Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Thanks. I'm really pleased to see that this is happening here, especially with the 25% of these buildings being affordable housing. Do you know, because we really need more of this in this area, and that's 18 units. Do you know how the potential tenants for those units are placed? Is it through the province, or are they the ones that decide?
I might not have this information in front of me off the top of my head, but I can definitely provide some background to this program. So the definition for affordable housing through the province is that housing will be at least 20% below average market rate in our Windsor area, and the market rate will be determined by the province.
Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Chair. We'll just to the points raised, which were at the public information meeting and at the planning meeting. I think they fit underneath your built form and density primarily. And it going to you had quotation within your agreement there or in your report on the density per square foot, and it's significantly more than would typically be, and that's driven based on the number of stories. But can you talk about the number of stories and the relaxed setback, which you just touched on there briefly about from a development agreement standpoint, how we squeeze those in?
Yeah, certainly. So since this is a DA gives a potential developer a more flexibility in terms of what can be built on their property and through our NPS policy. And so in my report, I believe this is a 4-story building above grade with 1 additional basement level. And I believe in our policy, the maximum height in the Windsor area will be capped at 80 feet. So this development is below 80 feet, the maximum height from the property, from the policy. And so in total, there will be 5 levels of living space. And so there will be 4-story as well as a basement level. And could you repeat your second part of the question?
Well, the other part was as related to the relaxed setbacks. So more about back from the front of street, I think is where it's coming from. If you.
Yeah, so I think this is also a concern raised in the public information meeting. I believe the response from the applicant was, since this property is sloped upward toward the rear of the property. If there were required more setbacks, the building will potentially look even higher than appear what it is in the proposal. So I believe that is the.
Thank you. And just one follow-up, if I could, Chair, through you to Mr. Hong. The 80 feet, you're saying 80 feet is the current height maximum for the MPS for Windsor, or is that future?
It is, I mean, the current planning strategy, municipal planning strategy in Windsor, that is maximum 80 feet.
Okay. I have to check that. Thank you.
Question, Councillor Whedon.
Just a comment to Councillor Larry Pinch. She had asked about the comments, and during the actual PIM, there was quite a few residents that were here that did speak, and there was also some through Zoom. Some of the people at the seniors' home right behind it had quite a few concerns about the size of the building. A lot of the residents that were at the PIM had a lot of concerns about the size of the building and looking down onto their properties. So those are just some of the other comments that may have not been addressed earlier in the report.
All right, seeing no more lights, if we can put that recommendation up on the screen there. And that's it there, Council. Somebody wishes to make it. Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Sure. The council gives first reading and holds a public hearing to consider entering into a development agreement to allow for a new multiple unit residential building at PID 450-53220 on King Street, Windsor, in a manner substantively the same as the draft set out in attachment C of the report file number 25-15 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee report dated September 11th, 2025.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Paul Morton. Discussion? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Because we're at first reading, I'm going to support this, but I'm not sure about, I'm going to ask if we can between now and then check the 80 feet height limitation within the Windsor municipal planning strategy, because I'm just not aware of it being that. Could be that's completely my oversight. I apologize. But I just would like to check that. But I will support getting it through to a public hearing.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, the motion is council gives first reading, hold a public hearing, and consider entering into a development agreement to allow a new multi-unit residential building on PID 45053220 on King Street, Windsor, and manner substantially the same as draft set out in Attachment C of report file number 25-15, the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee report dated September 11, 2025. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? One opposed. Councillor Whedon, motion passed. Thank you very much. Unfinished business, postpone
There's a part
motions.
two.
Sorry, recommendation 2 up on the screen. Councillor Bonnie Smith.
The council requires that the development agreement with Matthew Moore be signed within 120 days from the date of final approval by council or the date that any appeals have been disposed of. Otherwise, this approval will be void and obligations arising hereunder shall be at an end.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Seconder. Seconded by Councillor Paul Morton. Discussion. All right, the motion, council, is council required development agreement with Pinnacle Construction Limited be signed within 120 days from the date of final approval by council or the date that any appeals have been disposed of. Otherwise, this approval will be void and obligation arising hereunder shall be at an end. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? One opposed. Councillor Whedon, motion passed. Thank you very much. All right, unfinished business, postponed motions, Elcroft Park Play Structure. Director Keogh.
Thank you. Before you, there's a recommendation report for the Elmcroft Play structure, which is being brought forward as directed by council at the June 24th council meeting. The existing play structure is currently operational due to consistent maintenance efforts by staff. However, given its age and increasing difficulty or the inability in sourcing appropriate replacement parts, the facility is nearing its end of serviceable life and should be scheduled for replacement. Since options to move the playground location to another property are limited, one possibility is to place a new structure on the same site but closer to Stannis Street. This would improve the visibility, discourage vandalism, and provide a safer, more welcoming play space. Staff are recommending the existing structure be removed this fall and further recommend that council approve the direction for staff to proceed with the tendering process for replacement. We estimate that the cost to replace the Elmcroft Place structure with accessible features is approximately $350,000 and the site preparation cost to be approximately $50,000, all of which would have to be tendered. So before you is the recommendation to proceed with the tendering process. So we look to council for direction.
Questions, council to Director Keo. Councillor Leary Pinch.
So from a financial perspective, this wasn't budgeted for in this budget year, so this would be outside of and therefore coming from reserves.
Wasn't budgeted in this fiscal year. It was in the 5-year plan, in the 530,000 that was allocated in the 5-year capital plan. And it would be coming from the Canada Community Building Fund. Approved. Yeah.
Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you. So just follow on with that. So is that intended to be done as part of the NETS budget cycle, or is it coming from this one is what just to be clear, I don't know.
Tender process, I would anticipate we would do now so that we can have this, I guess that depends on how quick the budget process goes. So if we do actually proceed with the budget and get it completed in, what would it be, March, I guess, that would be potential, but this should be recommended. I would say if we want to have this built in the spring, it would be a recommendation in this budget year, not expensed until the next budget year.
Okay. And so part of the reason for asking the question was timing on taking the existing equipment out now and just knowing how things can go on. Are we wise to take that out now, or is it something better to be done in the spring when we take it out?
Our staff are recommending it come out now.
And the reason for that being?
Is safety.
Safety?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Leary Pinch.
So the suggestion is that it goes closer to the front on Stannis on the same property, but that area floods quite heavily. Like it's quite wet in comparison to the back of the side of that park. I don't know if you've ever been there after so is that the area we're recommending that is in the spot that's going to be more boggy, or are we mitigating the bogginess?
That would be part of the $50,000 recommendation for the site preparation would include that. Also, we are suggesting or recommending that rubberized matting be used. So if we did have a substantial flood that warranted it, we could clean it.
Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Thank you. Thank you to staff for preparing this recommendation report. There are many children in the Windsor area that would love to see a bright new accessible structure where they can climb and play and use their motor skills in a safe environment. Well, I liked the idea of the splash pad. I feel like, and I know we put the sort of older kibosh on that. This would be much better use of the Canada Community Building Fund, as it can be used year round, where the splash pad can only be used a couple months out of the year. I also liked the option A, close to the road, more lighting, possibly cameras in the area if needed, and the fact that it's rubberized, you mentioned that, so that it can be hosed off and sanitized if flooding happened in that area. So thank you.
Councillor Leary Pinch.
Comment. So am I, just because based on Councillor Smith's comments, I can make a comment now as opposed to a question to?
You have the mic, Councillor.
Perfect.
Bench.
So I think everybody is going to know my opinion on this. It's not that I am opposed to parks, but we say there's a problem with an existing play structure there. There's a report, we should replace the park. We holler in the rural areas to try to get a park of any form in existence, and it doesn't happen. And it's over and over and over again. So I just can't possibly, especially from a resident's perspective, I personally find it very frustrating myself. So there's just no capacity I have at this point, especially anyways, that there are other parks in the area and other things that can be used to just remove this and start putting a new one in when we know that we have, we've talked about strategic planning and capital planning and things that we kind of need to change and look at for further our massive lists that never, that we didn't get put into play yet. anyways, so though I appreciate the efficiency with this, from a public viewing perspective, it does sometimes highlight the things that we hear from our residents about how efficient things move in a particular area and how it doesn't in another area. Thank you.
I guess we're into the debate section at now, but we have a recommendation up on the screen there, council. Somebody wishes to make it, we can have more debate. Councillor Bonnie Smith.
The staff proceed with the tendering process for the replacement of the Elmcroft Park. Mine's different. Elmcroft play structure, sorry.
Moved by Councillor Leary, Councillor Smith, Bonnie Smith. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Ivy. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Smith. So, seeing no lights, we will call the question that the staff proceed with the tendering process for the replacement of the Elmcroft play structure. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? 3 opposed. Councillors Morton, Leary, Pinch, and Whedon. Motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. Next item, 2025-2026 tax rate regarding the correction from 23-24 budget. Councillor Ivy.
Hey, thank you, Chair. And so this is a report that we brought forward at Committee of the Whole. It's pretty much the same. I think I may have tightened up the wording just to make it a little bit more clear about the rationale or the reason for asking for the information. But in brief, as you know, we talked about the budget through many meetings, a lot of issues as it related to the taxes and the tax rates, the capital cost, cost of interest, and working our way through. And fundamentally, the increase that we were remaining with was the 4-cent increase on West Hants, primarily to deal with the fact that Windsor and Hantsport had capacity for contribution to reserves, and that debt and other liabilities with West Hants is what required that increase. Subsequent to that, reference was made that the rationale for the cost had to do with a mistake made in the 23-24 budget cycle and related to allocation of costs for our CMP. This wasn't something that we discussed, and so for that reason, I put the report forward, which I hopefully explains it in what I think was a relatively comparable method to what I just said here in front of council. And so what I'm asking for is that I think it's better that we all understand this, because this was a more challenging budget cycle than we'd had previously. And I drafted the motion for that purpose, to have an understanding of the increase overlaid on West Hants, the costs associated with that. And if there was an issue as it relates to the budget cycle from 23-24, that we understand what that was, that we'd still be trying to offset or compensate or correct that 2 budget cycles later. And thus the motions that are in there. And as part of that process, I included, and this the calculations used to determine the operating reserve ratio at 10% of revenues. And that I think is important as well, because we're using reserves as that offset on the tax rate. So that's the reason for the report that I put forward. If there's any questions on the report, I'm glad to answer them.
Are there any questions, councillors, on the report?
No? Okay.
All right. If you want to make your motion. And
I'll put forward the motions. I apologize. They're probably wordy. I may have overthought, wanting to try to and capture as much as I could in this. Just wanting to make sure that we can put the request through for the report and have a resolution. So the motions is council directs the CAO to engage staff to provide a report to council identifying the costs which contribute to the increased residential area rate of 4 cents for the residents of West Hants for the 25-26 fiscal tax year. The cost which resulted in a budgeted amount within the West Hants operating reserve of 1.18 million for purposes of reducing a potential tax rate increase for West Hants residential properties in the 24-25 fiscal tax year. And the identification of changes in any area rated or general rated cost allocations, as well as any miscalculations or oversights that may have contributed to the upward pressure on the West Hants tax rates, which may include the general rating of roads, increased principal and interest payments, allocation of costs for RCMP, and or any other items deemed relevant, and the calculations used in determining the operating reserve ratio for 10% of revenues.
motion is made by Councillor Ivy. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Discussion, council. No lights. then I'll just chime in on my end as a final comment. I appreciate the work that went into it. I understand the budget myself. I never accept or vote against a budget without understanding what I'm voting on. So I won't support it for that reason myself. But the motion, I'll read it again. Council directs the CEO to engage staff to provide a report to council identifying the costs which contribute to the increased residential area rate of 4 cents for residents of West Hants for a 2025-26 fiscal tax year. Costs which result in a budget amount within the West Hants operating reserve of 1.180 million for purpose of reducing a potential tax rate increase for West Hants residential properties in 24-25 fiscal tax year, and identification of changes in any area rated or general rated cost allocations, as well as any miscalculations or oversights that may have contributed to the upward pressure on the West Hants tax rate, which may include the general rating or roads, increased principal and interest payments, allocation or of costs for our CMP, and or any other items deemed relevant. The calculations used in determining operating reserve ratio 10% of revenues. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? 3 opposed. Councilors Morton, Deputy Mayor Francis, and myself. Motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, council, next item, mayor's report. I didn't submit one this month. I'll add it on to next month's. It'll be a little longer next month, but I just missed the deadline, to be honest with you. So I'll add it on for next month's report. Financial updates, water consumption ending July 31st. I don't believe Director Roshan is here. CAO Phillips, did you have anything in her place on that, or? Oh, is she? Oh, so, oh, you're lurking in the background as well, Director Roshan.
No
You're up.
problem, Worship. Just 1 second here. So thank you, Your Worship. The water consumption report was circulated within your package for review. We have inputted the first billing quarter, which was read in June, billed in July. So what we're looking and what we're seeing here right now is approximately a variance from our bulk water consumption of 26.2. This takes into account, of course, any authorized flushing, as well as non-revenue water attributed to water main breaks. So that is what makes up that 1.6 million in imperial gallons there. Other than that, we're mostly trending within our averages. However, the West Hants TMP 5 back road and has 2 meters, and one of the meters is a little lower right now, so it's been flagged for investigation. But I do know that through the next quarter, knowing that this one ended in June, we'll see probably the impacts of conservation and leak detection that the Public Works have been going through over the last few months in the next quarter. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays with our next quarterly billing cycle.
Thank you very much, Director Roshan. Questions, council, on the report? All right. Nothing on our end, Director Roshan.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole excerpts, recommendations. Committee of the Whole excerpts from the 9th of September 2025. Sorry, sir. Is it 10? Oh, it is 10:09. Sorry, time gets by. Council is sorry, it is 10:09 as a policy. If council wishes to continue, we need a motion of council. If not, we come back the next night, which would be tomorrow night. The issue with tomorrow night is it's staff appreciation.
Volunteer.
Volunteer appreciation night. Staff is later on, same thing, right?
Mhm.
But so that would not allow us to do that. So I'm looking at the direction of council. Councilor Ivey.
Sorry.
Nope. Councilor Whedon.
Move to continue.
Moved by Councilor Whedon to continue, seconded by Deputy Mayor Francis. We'll put it to a vote to continue on the meeting. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed with one out of room. Councilor Remy was not present for the vote, so we will continue. Committee of the Whole excerpt.
There's Avian, sorry.
Yeah.
I tried to interject, but it was late, and if we've lost Director O'Shawn, but we haven't seen the capital project update for the end of March 31st as of yet. And I'm just wondering if that's going to appear at some point. Normally it would be with the financial
Sure.
reports, but it's
Director Rashawn, are you still there, or I can't see the screen on who's still on and who's not? Capital on the water side?
Yeah,
capital general.
Yep.
through your worship. Yeah, we hope to have that in October as well as the June 2025 update as well.
So that's the one for March 31st. Am I correct?
And the June
And the June.
2025, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we'll get on to 2025 fall debenture recommendation report. Deputy Mayor.
Council approves a temporary borrowing resolution in the amount of $563,401 as outlined in the September 9th in the fall 2025 debenture report. Further, the mayor and municipal clerk to sign the resolution for pre-approval of debenture issuance, subject to interest rate confirmation not to exceed 7% to enable West Hants Regional Municipality to issue a 5-year debenture of $261,356 for fire equipment purchased for Hantsport Fire Department and electronic meter reading system. Further, the mayor and municipal clerk to sign the resolution for pre-approval of debenture issuance subject to interest rate confirmation not to exceed 7% to enable West Hants Regional Municipality to issue a 10-year debenture of $302,045 for the purchase of an RTV trailer for Brooklyn Fire Department and sidewalk machine and repairs to the Windsor Fire Department apparatus area.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Whedon. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing Councillor Ivy.
Yeah, just one question. If we have any sense as to the reason, last meeting we increased the interest rate from 6.5 to 7, and what it was that was driving that.
The Director Rashawn, he's still up there? Or?
Yep. So if you look at the pre-resolution reports attached, they have, the Municipal Finance Division has updated the average borrowing to 7%.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. I'm not going to read that for sake of time. Council, you all know the motion. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed unanimous. Thank you very much. Appointment of alternate development officer, Deputy Mayor.
Council appoint William Overholt as alternate development officer in the absence of the development officer effective September 24th, 2025, in accordance with Section 243 of the Municipal Government Act.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconder. Seconded by Councillor Bob Morton. Discussion. All right, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you very much. Diverse, Equitable, Inclusive Communities Committee member appointment. Deputy Mayor.
Council appoints Jess West as voting citizen member to become a representative and support to the Diverse, Equity, Inclusive Communities Committee for a 2-year term beginning September 23rd, 2025 until September 23rd, 2027.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Paul Whedon. Further discussion. Seeing nothing, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion passed unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody, and congratulations, Jess. You'll be a great addition to the committee. Next up, emergency funding request, Falmouth wastewater treatment sludge removal. Deputy Mayor.
Council approves the emergency pumping and transportation of approximately 700,000 liter of sludge from the Falmouth wastewater treatment plant digesters to allow critical emergency repairs to the aeration system for the quoted price of $63,000 plus applicable taxes to be funded through the sewer reserves.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Leary Pinch. Discussion on the motion. Seeing nothing, we'll put to a vote. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. O'Brien Street Renewal Engineering Services RFP Award. Deputy Mayor.
A council approved the award of the O'Brien Street Renewal Engineering Design and Tendering Services to CBCL Limited for the price of $122,895,000 before applicable taxes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconder. seconded by Councillor Bob Morton. Discussion. All right, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion's passed unanimous. Thank you very much. Transportation feasibility study, RFP award, WHR.
There's two more with this one.
Oh, sorry, yep.
Council approved the award of the O'Brien Street Renewal Engineering Project Management Services to CBCL Limited for the price of $52,235 before applicable taxes pending approval of the construction contract.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Bob Morton. Discussion on this motion. All right, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed. And the last one on that one.
Council approve an engineering contingency amount of $24,870 before applicable taxes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Bob Morton. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed unanimous. Thank you very much. Transportation feasibility study, RFP award, WHRMPL 25-01, Deputy Mayor.
Council approve awarding RFP number WHRMPL 25-01 for consulting services to complete a zero emissions transportation feasibility study to WSP Canada Inc. for the proposed cost of $92,845 plus applicable taxes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Quick on that one. 3 hands went up. Discussion. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion's passed. We got another one.
Council approve a 10% consulting contingency in the amount of $9,284.50 plus applicable taxes for the zero emissions transportation feasibility study.
By Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Leary Pinch. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you very much. Updated HMCC taxing resolution.
Council approve the updated 2025-26 Hansport Memorial Community Center area rate charge as presented to council on September 9th, 2025.
By Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Leary Pinch. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed unanimous. Thank you very much. WHRM's active transportation plan, Deputy Mayor.
Council approve and adopt the West Hants Regional Municipality Active Transportation and Trail Strategy 2025 as presented.
By Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Bob Moore. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you very much. And Windsor Sidewalk Replacement Tender Award, Deputy Mayor.
Council approve the award of tender WHRMPW 25-11 Windsor Sidewalk Replacement to Sheehy Construction Limited for the tender price of $396,456.85 before applicable taxes to be funded through the Canadian Community Building Fund.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you very much. And we got a number 2 on that one.
Yeah, council approve a construction contingency amount of $59,468.53 before applicable taxes to be funded through the Canada Community Building Fund.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Francis, seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smith. Discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? Councillor Smith, what, I was okay? All right. Motion is passed unanimous. Thank you. Everybody's getting a little tired, so the hands are up and down, up and down. Perfect. Thank you very much. That's approved. All right, we did that one. Councillor Municipal Business Activity Reports to all those councillors who submitted. Thank you. They were informative to me. I enjoyed them reading through and all the events and all the concerns and the phone calls and the questions that you are getting. So please keep it coming, and it's great information. Police Advisory Board report, Deputy Councillor Moran, again, very long, a lot of details in that as well. So we appreciate the information on that one too. Moving along to new business, we have installation of street lights at the
Worship.
crossing. Sorry, yeah,
Can we ask a question on the Police Advisory Board?
sure.
If I could just,
Yeah,
Well, just, it's interesting that, the amount we talk about speeding in here, and I know that there's an item on the agenda and that it's reinforced in their report, which is good to know that what we're seeing is the same thing they're seeing, and I appreciate that. But one thing that comes up a fair bit, at least around the town area and so on, has got to do with drug activity. And I just curious if anything ever gets discussed at Police Advisory Board in that regard. I haven't picked up on it, but it's not in there as an item. And is there anything you can speak to on that generally? Mayor, through to the chair of the
Councillor
advisory board?
Morton.
So generally, there's not a whole lot on drug because that's a different division.
Yeah.
But they use different ones and they really don't talk about that because they don't want me thinking I'm going to look at you
Yeah,
type thing.
absolutely.
So it's all more undercover than what
Yeah.
we'll see. So any big drug bust, you're going to see the Crime Street unit come in,
Yeah.
which is now, as you see in the report, is not dedicated to Windsor, Hantsport, West Hants.
Yeah.
It's wherever they're needed for the bigger crimes.
Yeah.
Drug. So it's all kind of hush hush drugs because
Understandable.
they don't want anybody saying, no, we're getting watched.
No, and I
Mhm.
appreciate that. I just didn't know what the extent was that they see it or,
Yeah.
and because of community concerns raises the reason for the question. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
So I think it's addressed more under the
Discreetly.
table type idea than
Yeah.
very okay. All right. All right. New business installation of streetlights in the crossing. Request for a decision. Councillor Bob Morton.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. First, just want to kind of acknowledge the support I had on this from Manager Burgess and of course Director Richard. A lot of questions that went into this over the past while, and certainly they answered them. So appreciate that. Little background: since being elected, it's 2020. It's been certainly a weekly thing that I've had from the crossing. We need streetlights. It's super dark over there. It's black. It's pitch black actually, and it's growing. Narrow roads. As the winter approaches, supper time, it gets dark, and folks are still trying to get out and walk their dogs. We have a policy, and trying to work through that policy that we approved as a council, and looked great on paper, but when you put it to practical application, it's very cumbersome. Trying to knock on the doors to try to get the 67 or 68% of the folks to sign this petition has proved to be a challenge. Going to the door 2 or 3 times and still not being home. So I was able to receive about 50 signatures, and I believe there's 90 some addresses on the street. So certainly not 68%, but being the area representative, I do know not just the road I started on, which is Edward. All the roads they want streetlights. They don't want it on every pole. They prefer every second or third pole. They don't want it to be lit up like a raceway, but enough to illuminate so when they're outside, it's safe. Because, well, I'm there in the nighttime too, and when you're out walking or talking, it's very dark and it's dangerous. So for the sake of safety, I know the policy states that you got to go each road and get your 60% of the residents. I don't think that's practical. Not just for the crossing, but for anywhere. So what I'm asking is I did my due diligence. I certainly tried. I know the residents over there want it for safety reasons, and putting out for discussion, but asking the council to direct staff to put streetlights on the unlit roads in the crossing and light up the streetlights that are over there that are currently unlit. So open it up for questions or discussion, but I'll make the motion after.
Questions to Councillor Bob Morton on the report? Councillor Bonnie Smith.
Thanks, through you, Chair. I've driven through the crossing many times, but I have honestly never driven through it at night. So some of the streets are lit with streetlights and some are not. And why would some be and some not?
It's a great question. Some are, and some have those decorative lights on that originally, and I don't know where we are in that process. Perhaps Director Richard would know, but the crossing, the developer had put in some decorative street lights. They were on, now they're off. And the last I spoke to the office, they were in the process of trying to hand those over to the municipality. I don't know where that process is with that, but they've been turned off. And I'm not sure where that is, but the unlit roads certainly should be lit. It's dark. But yeah, there is a couple roads, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but if you went over tonight, there's a couple roads that are lit up, but the majority of them are not. I don't know the answer to why those ones have been turned off. I can't answer that. They weren't ours. I don't know where we're at in that process. hopefully when their hours will be turned on.
So some of them, can I follow up?
Yeah.
So some of them are actual streetlights?
Councillor Ivy.
So I'm sorry if I missed this. I'm scanning now to see if I had, but have we not taken over the roads of the crossing at this point in time? Have they not all been turned over to West Hants?
Yes.
They're not private roads anymore. I know there's still some in development that's, busting at the seams of the border. So why is it that we do and don't have lights on those streets? What is it that I'm missing here?
Why are there no streetlights on?
Yeah, yeah.
It's pre-new municipal specifications. I believe no lights were originally installed on those lights, with the exception of it's not Merriweather, it's not Community Way, it's Denise. No.
Not Denise. Annie Mae? No.
It's not Annie Mae. No, it's right before. It's right off of Community.
Elizabeth.
Way. It's Elizabeth. Those are the decorative black with the little thing. That's it.
So, I mean, the reason I'm asking the question, it seems to me that when we've got streets that we've taken over, and even when we've taken them over, and I know that things have changed in our development environment and what we have for the municipal specs now, but that we aren't having streets all held to the same standard with lighting on residential streets. I don't know what happens in the rest of West Hants. I mean, this is familiar to me because it's so close and previous work there, but am I missing something here?
Director Richard, could you fill in a little bit on that?
Because I'm not.
So I'll give you guys an example. So streetlights are general rated throughout West Hants, period.
Right.
We still have areas, so I'll give you Clover Lane as example. It's still area rated to residents on Clover Lane, even though everywhere else it's general rated. So residents are paying for others plus paying for their own.
Right.
So West Hants is a little wonky that way, which we should probably address at some point as well. But I'll let you discuss the crossing right now.
Sure. So you alluded to it, Mayor. So essentially, previous to the municipal spec, the district of West Hants, they didn't have a spec that called for sidewalks or street lighting. Our new municipal spec speaks to that. So any new municipal street has sidewalks and will have street lighting on currently every second pole. If it's a development agreement, like Elizabeth, in that was the developer decided to put decorative lights because he has buried underground power. So there's decorative lights on Elizabeth. We are going through a process now. They are our street lights. It's in our property line. It's in our right of way. So we are lighting those street lights. I'm not sure. That was a few weeks ago. So they should be lit. The only holdup would be probably most likely through Nova Scotia Power. So because they need to bill through the municipality instead of the crossing development. So essentially, previous to the municipal spec and previous to consolidation, any municipal street outside of the service area of Windsor and Hantsport essentially didn't have a spec for streetlights. So now there is. So any new street will have that lighting.
And so as part of the, sorry, Your Worship, through you again, if I could follow up to direct. So is it that, is there a plan for getting those ones that aren't caught up? Is there, like with streets, we'll add sidewalks in when we're doing the work with the pipes underground and the resurfacing and so on. Do we have a similar kind of a plan with the streetlights?
So essentially the policy that is our streetlight policy would speak to that. No different than, previously constructed streets that have no sidewalks. There's no policy to go in and construct sidewalks on all those previously constructed municipal streets. So yeah, there's no policy that speaks to that. We do have a policy that speaks to the streetlights approved by council, and it outlines all the
process
requirements to have that done.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Leary Pinch, questions on the report?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Director Richard, since you're sitting here. I thought I recalled there was like a selection of streetlights that we were doing like per year, like a certain amount that we would be putting in that we had allocated in the budget. Maybe I'm making all of that up, but I thought that you were sitting in the exact same spot and you had said it would apply to certain parts and it would go to, but there was only so much, and that the province no longer would put it, we have to put it on provincial streets too, because the province, when we request it, doesn't put them up. Am I merging things?
Yeah, you're probably referring to the discussion just on the policy when we
Okay.
presented the policy. You know, there's, if someone wanted streetlights in Somerville, if you have the policy, and we could actually do that. And I think we give scenarios of lighting all streets up, including municipal streets and provincial streets. There's just some scenarios, I think, and we build in some scenarios on potential costs that would be applicable if we did that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the report?
So this is an unbudgeted item being asked for, which I'm not going to support because it's not budgeted for. But if we're going to do streetlights, there's more than dark places in the crossing. Every district has dark spots. And do for one, we should investigate all of them, bring it back during the budget period and see what it's going to cost us. Because if you're going to do it for one, you should do it for all and investigate. I have areas in my district that would probably love streetlights. But if we're going to do it, we should do it as a whole, not pick and choose.
Any further questions? I'm not seeing any more lights. Councillor Bob Moran. All right, you got the floor.
Yeah, certainly agree with you, Paul. This is just where I started, but I think we need to look at them all. But just being the representative of this area, it's where I have begun, but I do think we need to look at them all. But I would certainly put a motion forward to be different than perhaps what's on the screen, just subtracting a part. But would move that council direct staff to begin the process to install lights on the unlit roads within the crossing, beginning with Edward Drive, based on support gathered from residents, and fund these lights as general rated, consistent with the approach taken on other municipal roads and streetlights.
Moved by Councillor Bob Morton.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Paul Whedon. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. I don't think I can repeat that. I think it's install streetlights on the unlit portions of Edward Drive and to generate them through the general rate. So
Scroll down, actually, to the bottom 2 lines that you see on the screen there. Just right
Yep.
to the last.
yep, I think we just summarized it there, so everybody understands what they're voting on. All those in favor, please signify by hands up. Opposed? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. So motion is defeated. All right, thank you very much. Just was opposed, just for the record there. Councillors Ivy, Smith, Morton, Yanish, and Francis. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Next item on the agenda, traffic calming in the crossing, request for decision. Councillor Morton.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Much on the same vein. A lot of help from Manager Burgess and Director Richard on this one as well. We've been doing some traffic calming study over there, going through the policy. And again, since being elected, I've had a lot of conversations with residents over there, and the speeding is, or what is perceived as speeding, we'll say, is a lot, and it's quite frequent. I know the speed over there is 50 kilometers an hour, and I actually went over and drove 50 kilometers an hour the other night at 2 a.m. just to see how fast. And 50 kilometers an hour is too fast there, but it's our limit, and that's okay. So I can see where some of this perceived speeding, and when we look at the report that was provided, it shows that there's not a lot of speeding there, but 50 kilometers an hour would certainly be perceived as that. But as the crossing grows and we have more entrance and exits over there, so does the traffic, and so does the speeding, so does the safety. There's no sidewalks, there's narrow roads, and there's a lot of people. Buses are routed through there right now, and I know in the CEO's comments, I believe it said it's temporary due to construction, but it has been said that they are public roads and the buses can go through there, and that's not incorrect. That's correct. They can go through there, and doesn't make it the right place to go through. But so looking to install something, speed bumps is what I suggest to kind of slow people down. It is a safety concern. I walk over there every day, and people do especially on Community Way, when you get by the homes, they're cooking. And on Edward Drive, they're cooking. We got the study zone on Edward Drive right now, counting cars and traffic. So just looking to make it safer over there. I know there's many other roads within West Hants that we need to look at as well. But this is again where I'm starting in District 6. I know you get the calls, Mayor, the emails. It's just looking to make it a little safer over there. If we can get street lights put up, it'd be great, along with some speed bumps to slow some folks down and make them pay closer attention would be a fantastic thing. So any questions, I feel free to answer. The report is there. I'll make a motion after questions.
Questions on the report, Deputy Mayor?
I don't know who this is, Councillor Morton, or have we done a traffic calming study or a study on, because I'm a little confused. It's asking to do it, but then it should explore speed bumps. Have we done that already? Do we have the information on any of that? That's on speed bumps.
That's
So
on
is
the
it-
Community Way. So if cars counted, like I think you can see, I can't see that, but one day says a couple thousand cars went through. And it shows that there's not a lot of speeding on there. I would beg to differ just by being over there. But that's what that was the data that we collected off Community Way. And then Manager Burgess just finished collecting data off of, I think it's Abbey, and now it's up on the next intersection collecting more data.
So if they're not speeding and we're recommending to put speed bumps in, that's the recommendation that we've done a traffic advisor, like a report that speed bumps would solve this. I just didn't see that part in here.
No, I'm just recommending that we put something over there. Residents are very upset. It's getting overly crazy busy in there. I understand that this doesn't show a lot of speeding. The average speed of 12 kilometers an hour, there's absolutely no way that's correct, or 11 kilometers or 15. Again, walking that road every day. I don't believe those are correct. Very thankful that we did the study. And I don't believe that 4,644 cars went through on that day either. But it is very busy over there. And people are cooking. So if residents are asking for something, and that's where we're at. And I know the mayor's getting the questions because he saw most of the emails that I received.
Councillor Larry Pinch.
Thank you. Did you explore any other, just out of curiosity, like traffic calming measures, like outside of speed bumps, like signs, or like what led you to speed bumps, I guess?
Speed bumps because it was quick and easy, and I think as it, I had to find it here, alluded to that to explore traffic calming measures, including speed bumps. So consider speed bumps or other effective calming measures that can be deployed. So speed bumps is because that's generic, quick, it's easy, it can be done today kind of thing. But it does say other effective calming as well. So.
Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm very empathetic to this because I too have residents with concerns about speeding in areas where we've talked about here before. King Street as you come into Windsor or go out of Windsor, Tremaine Crescent, any place where there's a stretch without a stop sign, people are hitting the gas. And Payzant Drive is another key one going in and out of the high school past the hospital. And I too find challenges within what we have for a policy that I think we approved it 3, maybe 4 years ago for traffic calming. And I believe we probably need to take a look at it because the concerns still come in. But equally, we've also seen when the reports are done that what we perceive to be somebody speeding isn't in fact speeding. There's some streets, I'll quote Nesbitt down on the island because the issue's been raised down there and the street isn't much longer than it is from here to the office. And anybody traveling the speed limit on a road that's that short certainly is above what the road can handle. So I'm empathetic that way, but that nobody on the chart here is going over the limit. It just, and they should be traveling a bit slower within that area. I'm very concerned about that, but it just makes it really difficult to look to put enforcement in where there's no record of anybody being over. The other thing I'll point out, I think you touched on it as well there, Councillor Morton, is that like the numbers for the total of vehicles there just doesn't line up for me. I can't. And so where my head goes is that if that data is wrong, then what's going on with the rest? Somehow we're counting way more cars in there. There's one here at 20,820 on the 11th of May. That would have been a highway closure for the entire day, I think, to do that. Like it just doesn't. So I'd like to see us be able to do something more effective on speeding within our urban areas, but I don't know that that this is going to do it.
Councillor Paul Moran.
So I'm gonna go back to the same thing. There's speeding in every district. I hear it from every district. You go to Homestead Hill and Hansport, they say it's a freeway. I get a phone call, a car's going 100 miles an hour. They put the sign up there, they do the data. The data is the data. I don't think anybody's playing with the data. It shows they're not speeding, so. Again, if we're gonna do something for one area, we gotta look at the whole municipality, change or whatever we're doing. But when it says they're not speeding, I can't believe that they're not speeding.
Councillor Larry Pinch.
This might be a question for Director Richard. I'm just curious as to whether we could reduce the speed because I know it's been suggested that 50 was too fast. Is there a way to like put it to a lower maximum speed in that particular area?
Director Richard.
Presume there's provincial reasons why we can't, but I just thought I'd ask.
Sure, it's Troy would probably have a better answer than I would because he's been asked that many times, but it's a provincial standard. So we can do, I think Halifax did a trial reducing it, lower than 50 kilometers an hour, but there's something, I don't know the wording, but and again, just speaking on speeding, you'll notice that one of the columns, shows the 85 percentile, and that means like 85% of the people. And this one is current data from Edward Drive. I think that was the one that was done in the past few days. So 85% of the people on Edward Drive would normally drive 36 kilometers an hour. That's the average speed, just given the road conditions. So on Edward Drive, the actual average speed is less than the 85 percentile, which is a good number. So the average speed is 22 kilometers an hour. So it does kind of speak to, and these are radar calibrated machines that, does measure. So I agree that the counts may be off. I think it might've been a reset, but certainly the speeds, there's no way to reset the speed. So it's just a radar that measures that speed. So certainly there's maybe the issue around looks like speeding, but certainly there's no indication of speeding in the crossing.
Councillor Whedon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just like to comment I'm a big fan of those flashing speed signs. I mean, they seem to be effective. They're all over the province. They're in high traffic areas. They're on parts of the number one, and they seem to be cost effective. So, I mean, the speed bumps is probably going to be more expensive than those signs would be. And those signs are a portable sign, I do believe. So I'd be more apt to go with that kind of direction with the flashing signs.
Councillor Larry Pinch.
I was just gonna comment from the perspective of residents who feel that you're speeding when you're not. I do know that we had a considerable period of time on the 101 when I was with another fire department where we definitely thought people were speeding past us and weren't slowing down, so much so that the RCMP came out and used their radar and they were actually going under the requirements. But when you're there standing, it feels like people are moving a lot faster than they are, just for what that's worth. So I can understand from the residents' perspective that they perceive it as being, quite an efficient clip.
Further questions on the report, Council? No. All right. We are back to you for the floor if you want to make a recommendation or.
I will. I'll just do a little follow up too, Mayor. It's kind of a unique community too, because it's very high dense. They're all senior residents. And it's very, very busy now that there's open roads. I mean, you go over there in the morning. I was there this morning, 7:30, and there's a lot of people. So it's a unique thing, I mean, simply because there's 400 or 500 homes and they're all seniors. So safety is top of mind, but I certainly will put the motion on and it'll go where it'll go. But request that is that on there? I don't think let's. Council directs staff to begin the process of implementing traffic calming measures within the crossing immediately, focusing on the main roads of Edward, Irving, and Community Way.
Moved by Councillor Bob Moran. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Paul Whedon. Discussion. I'll chime in. I didn't chime in on the street lights. I voted for it, but it's safety with me. Crossing is a little bit different. I know the speeding radar says that data. Maybe the counts are a little bit off. I think on average, sometimes daily, sometimes bi-daily. It's a constant thing through many residents, whether they're perceiving speeding going by or not. I don't think either of anybody can speak to that. It's a possibility. I know the intention of the crossing was to be a retirement community that was safe streets, walkable, and they are very well walked. Any way that we can reduce speeds or calm the traffic, no pun intended, would be a positive in my opinion. But just wanted to add those comments. But I guess those could be said for almost every area of the municipality as well. So all right, with no other lights popping up, we'll put the motion to a vote that council begins the process of implementing traffic calming measures in the crossing immediately, focusing on Edward Drive, Irvin Drive, and Community Way. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed? And it's a tie vote again, and it means a defeat for the motion. Thank you very much, council. All right, next item up, closure of Windsor Courthouse, proposal to deem property surplus and issue request for proposals. Oh boy, CAO Phillips.
We're right here, your worship. We're
You hung
right
in
here
there.
we're right alongside of you. It's all good. Okay, well, thank you, your worship and members of council. So yes, this is about the potential surplusing of what would be known in the community as the Windsor Courthouse. And I think it's been reported probably with correspondence in the past that the Department of Justice, after being a long-term tenant in that facility, has given us notice of termination as they're consolidating their services in the Kentville court system. So that leaves us with the decision what we do with that property moving forward. And I know council has the benefit of majority of council has the benefit of touring that facility at some point in time, either in a past life or present day. So now we have to make a decision. Surplusing the property is the recommendation. Staff have looked at it, although the timing has been short. We've looked at it from a municipal perspective and do not feel we have a use for that from a municipal perspective. So the next step would be to deem it surplus. The next step, if council were to support the surplus, would be essentially to create an RFP process. We would probably do that in alignment with a real estate listing and give folks the appropriate amount of time to tell us what it is that they'd like to do with that. That gives volunteer groups, that gives for-profit developers and so forth equal opportunities to submit proposals within a defined timeline. So that's the focus of the report. I see Deanna scrolling through some of the details. You have had the benefit of the report, but it all culminates in the recommendation before you to deem it surplus and to embark on the RFP process. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer, but the recommendation is there for your consideration.
Thank you very much, CAO. Questions, council to CAO on the report? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, just one question. I'm sorry, I was scrolling and may have missed the typically with when we go to tender and the like, you put the tender out with the expectation that you're definitely going to issue. You don't get to issue a tender and then not. So we put this out and say 10 ideas come back. And there are things that we look at and we think, do we have the ability to reject? Is it required that you accept what comes in? Sorry, through you, Chair, to CAO.
Yeah. So it's one of two. Okay, sorry. One of two things. I mean, we do have the formal RFP process, which I can confirm, but confident that we can. I think we have the boilerplate boilerplate language that gives us that option. However, that is also ultimately executed through the purchase sale agreement with respect to a land sale and or donation for that matter, again, depending on what proposal. So we can craft something to make sure that your council is protected in that way if it's not embedded in the RFP, but I'm confident that it is. But if not, we can ensure that is in place.
I mean, I'm good with that. I guess it's an ideally located property. And it's a property that I think has tremendous potential, whether somebody wants to get creative with the existing building or if they want to do something completely different. But I just think it's something that you'd really want to see something special happen within that location. I know I've seen it. It was done before with another property that the town of Windsor had previously, where they tried to get solutions for sale, and it went on forever. I'm not suggesting the same thing here, but I just think, however it is that whatever the bait is we put on this hook to get people to consider it, that we cast that as far as we can to see what comes back.
For sure. I mean, we had the tendering process, but there's nothing like an MLS listing as well, right? So we can promote the RFP and the opportunity, but ultimately the MLS listing helps with that as well for those folks that are looking for those opportunities, whether it be land or redevelopment.
Further questions on the report? Councillor Leary Pinch.
That council deemed the property and building known as the Hants County Courthouse located at 226 King Street, PID 450-59987 as surplus, and that staff be directed to prepare and issue a request for proposals for its future use, sale, or redevelopment.
Moved by Councillor Leary Pinch, seconded by Deputy Mayor. You got the light, she got the word. It's like, we call it the Family Feud, one says the answer, but one clicks the button. That's what happens at 10:52 p.m. All those in favor, say hands up. Opposed, motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, CAO, for hanging in there. Next up, Consulting Services Comprehensive Needs Assessment, Parks and Recreation Facilities, WHRM CD 2508 recommendation report.
Thank you.
Director Keogh,
Before
the
you
ultimate hanger-inner.
Before you is a recommendation report for consulting services for comprehensive needs assessment for the parks and recreation facilities. The intent is that the assessment will create a long-term vision for parks and recreation facilities that are needed in West Hants Regional Municipality and will support decision-making and capital improvement planning for the next 8 years. This assessment is intended to address current conditions, identify gaps, including spatial gaps, and provide actionable strategies for future planning, investment, and sustainability. Staff are recommending consideration of East Point Engineering and ASBB Economics and Research for the tendered price of $64,971 plus applicable taxes. And while they are not the low bidder, their bid compared to the other two bidders is offset specifically by allotting approximately 213 more project hours than the low bidder to this project, with a greater allocation of hours for community engagement. And this commitment is expected to enhance the quality and depth of public input into the project. Within the capital budget, we included $75,000 to be funded through the operating reserve. So we have a recommendation before you for your consideration.
Thank you, Director Keogh. Questions on the report, Councillor Leary Pinch.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Director Keogh. Does this include rural West Hants?
Correct. Yes,
Thank
it
you.
does.
Perfect. Appreciate
Other
it.
questions, Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Director Keogh. Just a question, if I can ask it, if you're able to anchor that 210 more hours in the order of magnitude, how close were the other ones? I mean,
So they all didn't bid specifically aligned, like their categories didn't line up specifically. And so in the categories that they did that
Mhm.
we could clearly delineate. Community engagement was one of them. So East Point had allocated 161 hours, where another bidder, or the lowest bid, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I should double check.
Yeah.
Where RC Strategies had allocated 118 hours. Regarding the existing conditions, East Point had allocated 108 hours, where another had allocated 32 hours. And in specific to that one, we noticed the 108 hours, just to get around our municipality is going to take a substantial amount of time. So that
Yeah.
was valued greater amongst the evaluators.
Yeah, and so thank you. I mean, that's sufficient to tell me that the 200 is significant, even in a small block and it's not a small block, actually. 200 hours is that's 5 weeks of engagement time. So I appreciate just the scale of that. Thank you.
Any further questions to Director Keogh? Councillor Larry Pinch.
That council approve the award of tender WHRM CD 25-08 request for proposals consulting services for a comprehensive needs assessment for parks and recreation facilities contract to East Point Engineering and ASBB Economics and Research for the tendered price of $64,971 plus applicable taxes.
Moved by Councillor Larry Pinch, seconded by Deputy Mayor Francis. Discussion on the motion. All right, all those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed, motion is passed. We have a second recommendation up on the screen. Councillor Larry Pinch.
That council approve a contingency amount of $3,248.55 plus applicable taxes for this project.
Moved by Councillor Larry Pinch. Councillor Morton, seconder. All those in favor signify by hands up. Opposed, motion is passed. Thank you very much, everybody. Correspondence, we have an NSFM letter for elected officials regarding strong mayor powers. So that's been put to off to the side altogether from the province as per the premier. So no more worrying about that in the near term anyways. In camera, we have none. Our next meeting date is October 14th, 2025, committee hall 6 p.m. I will adjourn this meeting of council at 10:57 on September